Welcome back to We Love the Earth. I am your host Maya, and today we are going to talk about dumpster diving. We Europeans throw away 89 billion tons of food annually, and this would have been enough to feed the 1 billion people starving in the world. The food is mostly from supermarkets, restaurants, as well as from our households. Here in Sweden, we have 3 times more food than we need, and all the other countries in Europe too. If we think about the fact that 1/3 of all the food in the world is wasted, what options do we have to minimize that number? One is dumpster diving. We are here today to discuss dumpster diving and hearing it from two different perspectives. I am sitting here today with Julia Welsh, who is an experienced dumpster diver that currently lives in North Carolina. On my left, I have Angela Loughlin, who is an activist against dumpster diving in her city, Cleveland. Julia currently lives in North Carolina. However, you are living on the move in your van, aren't you?
Yes, that's true. I'm living as minimalistic as possible, or I'm trying to. And for the last 5 months, I've lived in my van, and that's because it leaves a smaller footprint on Earth rather than living at home. For example, I don't consume as much water when I live in my van, and I use solar panels. I don't know how they work, but they are on my roof, and when sun hits them, they provide me electricity, so I don't take away so much from the environment, and it feels good for me to live as best as I can for the environment.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So my first question to you is, how did you find dumpster diving?
I was actually on a lecture on how we could live our lives better from the environment's perspective, and there they started talking about dumpster diving and all its benefits, and not just for the planet but also for the economic situation, especially for me. There I actually met a homeless man who survived living on the streets by going through a dumpster in his cities. So he started dumpster diving, and by that he could save the money he got from people when he sat out in the street, save them, and now he lives in a small apartment and works at a fast food restaurant. And he actually inspired me to start dumpster diving, and I thought if he could do it, then why can't I?
So, Angela, for those who does not know what dumpster diving is, could you explain what it means for those?
Yes, well, as the name suggests, dumpster diving is the trend for food or valuable items in dumpsters or trash. In many countries, dumpster diving has gone from taboo to almost a part of the mainstream culture, especially among backpackers and travelers. So basically, it is when you go to a dumpster from a restaurant, grocery store, or some other place and look through trash if there is any packaged food, fruits, and bread, or other edible things that is fresh and okay to eat.
Okay. So my other question is to Julia, and that is, why are you dumpster diving?
Right now, I would say I'm a traveler, and because of that, I want to live my life to the fullest while I'm a traveler. So because of that, I don't have a job right now, so I have a very limited budget to live on for the next couple of months. So one reason for my dumpster diving is actually for my economic situation, although the number one reason is of course the environment, and the amount of food we throw away could feed the hungry, and it just doesn't feel right for me that we raise animals and then they end up in dumpsters. So for me, it's important that they just don't get thrown away. And all around the world we throw away food. I just don't understand that. And if the food have expired and gone bad, it just isn't bad from that. You can still eat it a couple days after. From restaurants and other places, I would understand that they can't, like sell the expired food because that's a policy. But others who just throw away food, I don't respect that. That's just absurd.
Okay. So, Angela, why are you against dumpster diving, and why should it not be a choice of food?
Well, while dumpster diving may seem harmless or being amusing on its face, it actually has several possible negative outcomes. Because dumpster diving can cause serious problems for your health and for companies that sells food. One negative outcome dumpster diving have is for the companies that have thrown away all the old food. So when people, instead of buying the food in the stores, takes it for free in the dumpsters, the companies will lose a lot of money. If more people start to dumpster dive and take food for free, more supermarkets will go bankrupt, and this will lead to hundreds of people that will be unemployed. Another negative outcome that dumpster diving has is that dumpster diving can cause a big mess in the area of where the dumpster is placed. Trash will then be everywhere, which can attract animals and insects of all kinds that the ones that are working at the supermarkets don't want.
That's actually the point of dumpster diving, that we don't have to pay for it, and the environment gets better because of it. When you say that people will get unemployed and the stores will lose money because of it, that has to be if there's a lot of people dumpster diving, and by that I mean a lot of people, and I don't think that's a problem right now actually.
Yes, but you are saying that people are dumpster diving to get food for free, and you are here today to motivate people try dumpster diving out, and if you can motivate more people to do it, more supermarkets will lose their money. So it's not true that supermarkets won't go bankrupt at the end.
Okay, so if we just stop there, I wonder, after hearing what you said, Julia, what motives would there be to live off the trash of others?
I think many people around my age are having problems with their economic situation. As I said earlier, I dealt with that, and this option helps a lot in that area, especially if you live in a big city. This is a great option for you when the prices sometimes just are too high. You might find it in the dumpsters, and dumpster diving is not just for food, it's also for, let's say if you're looking for a new coffee machine, you can go to your nearest electronic shop's dumpsters and search for something there, and that's actually saved me a lot of money, so I can put that on gas instead of, well, buying a new one for a very big amount of money.
It is interesting that you do not just look for food, but also electronic supplies. If someone out there listening to you and considers going dumpster diving, could you give them some tips for their first time?
Yes, of course. I would recommend to dumpster dive early in the morning, right after the sunrise, because at that time there are less employees around to interrupt you, and it is also good to dumpster dive early, because that's when the most grocery stores have thrown away their food, and it's fresh there. Supermarkets throw away tons of perfectly edible food every day, just because the label says an item has exceeded its use-by date. Therefore, you should go and find your local supermarket's dumpsters to scavenge fresh food for free. Go with some local dumpster divers, and they can help you with your first time doing it. That's actually what happened to me. I met a guy who does it every Friday, and he helped me out and gave me some tips and tricks on what to do when dumpster diving. So that's definitely an important part. Then I would also recommend a gripper tool so you can reach all the areas in the dumpsters so you don't have to go yourself in the dumpster and get bacteria and other stuff. So a gripper tool is number one priority, I would say. Then a very important part also is to look for signs nearby, because it may say that you can't dumpster dive there, or that you can, but just look out so you don't get in any legal problems, because that has happened to some of my friends, and yeah, it's not fun. The last thing I would recommend is to take a shower right when you get home, so you don't sit in your sofa or something like that and spread bacteria around. So use some antibacterial soap. I would recommend it. Works best for me. And the last thing is to have fun, and you'll be surprised at what you can find.
Well, it seems like dumpster diving is a pretty good thing to do for the environment, and it also is becoming more and more popular to people among the world. After hearing Julia speak about the good things about dumpster diving, would you still not consider to try it out, Angela?
After hearing Julia talk about dumpster diving, I would still not try it out because of the negative outcomes I mentioned before. But the worst possible outcome of dumpster diving that I haven't mentioned is that it can result in serious injuries or even death. Dumpsters can contain dangerous chemicals or objects that can harm those who are performing it, and in worst case scenario, you can be trapped under the garbage, which will cause you to suffocate.
Okay. I really don't think you should be going out saying that, because when I'm doing it, I take great cautions. I wear gloves, safety suit, and a mouth guard, and by that, I don't get any chemicals in me. I will also say I'm a living proof of what you're saying is false, because during my 5 years dumpster diving, I have never gotten sick of it.
Okay, that's good for you. However, you can't risk getting sick or die just because some old food. And in this case, you just got unlucky, if you ask me, and you can't always rely on that luck.
Angela, you need to understand that I do not rely on luck, because as I said, I take very great caution not to get contained by anything, and I do not do this because of the money. I just want to say the last thing. It's not for the money or for the free food. For me, it's the whole picture I'm looking at when I'm dumpster diving. I'm doing it because of the environment and what I've seen, that we can't ignore the environment's problems anymore. We have to see the results that we have.
I just think we can do it in other ways than dumpster dive. That's my opinion.
Okay, so now we have listened to both Julia's and Angela's options about dumpster diving, and now it's your turn to figure out how you feel about it. Angela and Julia got to say their point of view, and it's clear now how they feel about it. In this program we talk about things to improve the environment, and this is definitely one thing. Next week we return with 2 new persons and discuss the meat production. Stay tuned.